The middle class mindset that keeps you broke. Let me start with a warning. What I'm about to say is not comfortable, it's not polite, and it definitely won't fit into a motivational quote you can read, post, and forget tomorrow. But if you really want to change your financial life, if you're tired of working hard and still feeling stuck, then you need to hear this. Most people are not broke because they lack opportunity. They're broke because they've inherited a way of thinking that quietly sabotages them. A mindset that feels responsible, a mindset that feels mature, a mindset that feels normal, the middle class mindset. And before anyone gets defensive, understand this. This is not an attack on income level. This is not about shaming anyone's background. This is about beliefs, because beliefs shape behavior, and behavior shapes results. You can make decent money and still think in ways that guarantee you never build wealth. The middle class mindset doesn't destroy your life all at once. It slowly bleeds it dry through comfort, fear, and well-meaning advice that no longer works in the modern world. Let's talk about it. The addiction to safety. The first pillar of the middle class mindset is obsession with safety. From the time you're young, you're taught that the goal is stability. Get good grades, get a degree, get a job with benefits. Stay loyal, don't take risks, don't fail, don't rock the boat, and look. This advice made sense in a different era. When pensions were real, when companies rewarded loyalty, when costs were lower and careers were predictable, but the world changed and the mindset didn't. Today, safety is an illusion. Your job can disappear. Your industry can vanish. Your skills can become irrelevant, yet the middle class mindset clings to certainty like it's a life raft, because uncertainty feels terrifying. So instead of asking, how do I grow? People ask, how do I avoid losing what I already have? That question alone limits everything. Growth requires discomfort, progress requires risk, and wealth requires the willingness to look foolish before you look successful. But the middle class mindset values being right more than being free. It chooses predictability over possibility, and slowly, quietly, that choice puts a ceiling on your life. Trading time for money. The second trap is the belief that hard work equals success. Now, don't misunderstand me. Work ethic matters, but effort without leverage is a dead end. The middle class mindset teaches you to sell your time. Hours for dollars, days for paychecks, years for a retirement that might never come. And the problem isn't working hard. The problem is only working hard, because time is the one resource you can't scale. There are 24 hours in a day. No hustle culture slogan can change that. Yet people exhaust themselves trying to outrun math. They work overtime, they take side jobs, they grind harder, but they never stop to ask the more powerful questions. How do I build skills that compound? How do I create value that reaches beyond me? How do I build assets instead of just income? The middle class mindset glorifies being busy. It praises exhaustion. It rewards loyalty to systems that don't love you back. Meanwhile, wealth is built by leverage, skills, systems, ownership, and long-term thinking. You don't get rich by being the hardest worker in the room. You get rich by being the most strategic. But strategy requires stepping back, and stepping back feels lazy to a mindset addicted to effort. So people stay busy and broke. Fear of failure disguised as responsibility. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. The middle class mindset claims to hate failure because it's irresponsible. But that's not true. It hates failure because failure threatens identity. If you fail, people might judge you. If you fail, you might look foolish. If you fail, the story you tell yourself about who you are might fall apart. So instead of risking failure, people choose guaranteed mediocrity. They stay in jobs they hate because the paycheck is predictable. They avoid starting businesses because it might not work. They don't invest in learning because it's not a sure thing. They call this being realistic. but realism without ambition is just fear in a suit. Failure is not the enemy, stagnation is. Every successful person you admire failed more times than you've tried. The difference is, they didn't make failure mean they were unworthy. They treated failure as data. Feedback, tuition, a step, not a sentence. The middle-class mindset turns failure into a verdict. I failed, therefore I'm not cut out for this. Elite thinking says, I failed, therefore I'm learning. And that difference changes everything. Short-term comfort, long-term cost. Another defining feature of the middle-class mindset is short-term thinking. Comfort now, pain later. Buy things to feel better today. Avoid discomfort today. Delay learning today. The cost shows up years later in debt, regret, and unrealized potential. We live in a culture obsessed with instant gratification, and the middle-class mindset fully buys into it. New car instead of investing. Entertainment instead of education. Escapism instead of skill building. None of these choices are evil on their own, but repeated daily they compound, just in the wrong direction. Wealth is built by people who are willing to delay gratification, who invest in themselves when no one is watching, who choose long-term freedom over short-term approval, but that requires saying no to comfort, to convenience, to fitting in, and fitting in is sacred to the middle-class mindset. Identity. The invisible ceiling. Now let's talk about the most dangerous part of all identity. The middle-class mindset doesn't just influence what you do, it shapes who you believe you are. I'm not a business person. I'm not good with money. I'm just being realistic. That's for other people. These statements sound harmless. They're not. They are self-imposed limitations masquerading as honesty. Your income will never consistently exceed the identity you accept for yourself. If you see yourself as someone who plays it safe, you'll avoid opportunities that require courage. If you see yourself as someone who isn't naturally smart, you'll stop learning too soon. If you see yourself as someone who's lucky just to have a job, you'll tolerate conditions that drain your soul. Identity is powerful. Change the identity, and behavior follows. Change the standards, and results chase you. Wealth isn't about greed, it's about capability. The capability to solve problems, the capability to learn fast, the capability to adapt when the world changes. But the middle-class mindset discourages reinvention. It says, stay in your lane, don't get ahead of yourself, be grateful for what you have. Gratitude is powerful, but gratitude without hunger becomes a cage. Responsibility vs. control. Here's the final truth. The middle-class mindset often confuses responsibility with obedience. Follow the rules, do what you're told. Wait your turn, but real responsibility is taking control. Control of your skills, control of your learning, control of your financial future. No one is coming to save you, not your employer, not the economy, not the system, and that realization is terrifying or empowering, depending on your mindset. The moment you accept full responsibility for your outcomes, everything changes. You stop blaming. You stop waiting. You start building. That's when growth begins. The choice, let me be clear. This is not about becoming ruthless. It's not about abandoning values. It's not about chasing money at all costs. It's about refusing to live below your potential. It's about choosing growth over comfort, ownership over dependency, learning over fear. The middle-class mindset feels safe, but safety has a cost. If you want a different life, you need different beliefs, different habits, different standards. You have to be willing to feel uncomfortable now, so you don't stay uncomfortable forever, because comfort is seductive, but freedom is earned. And the moment you decide to think differently, to act differently, to demand more from yourself, that's the moment the ceiling starts to crack. Not overnight, not magically, but inevitably. And that's how real change begins.